Here we go again. Back to work, back to work. One more day left this week. It's Thursday evening. We're getting ready for Friday's trading session. Get a bunch of great trades setting up for tomorrow. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video. That way you have a game plan to make some money tomorrow. As always, before we jump in and get this party going tonight, make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way you don't miss tomorrow night's video upload. And if you enjoy the video tonight, you know what to do. Hit that like button for me. Appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro. Let's get ready for Friday. Not just any Friday, quad witching Friday, end of a real busy week. Friday trading session. Boy, what's going on right now in the markets here? Boy, S&P and Nasdaq are bearish. Had some very big moves down on the Nasdaq and the S&P here today. We got some ranges in play here for Friday, and of course, you know me. Whenever I see a range, we're trading rotation, we're trading failures. Definitely have some key levels up overhead. Looking for some shorts back down here right now on the E-minis. Got my eyes on some really perfect pullbacks going into Friday's trading session. I definitely have my eyes open for a reversal. We get a possible double bottom reversal, possible pop and grind reversal. So I definitely have some long side trades on my radar for tomorrow. Not to worry, we'll cover both the perfect pullback shorts for tomorrow as well as any reversal setups to keep on your radar as we finish up the week. Over on crude oil, of course is bullish right now, but I'll tell you, when you see these charts here tonight, you're going to see why it's not easy to be a buyer right now on the oil. We definitely have some bullish control on momentum right now, but I'll tell you, multiple levels of resistance up overhead and a really interesting kind of like a hidden channel on the chart tells me I'd like to see these buyers fail a couple times here and dump this thing back to those lows. If of course we don't, if the buyers keep it going, we definitely have breakout potentials with a range overhead. We get a last week's close 120 acting as a magnet overhead. So again, we'll cover both sides of the oil, both the shorts off the high and of course the breakouts going higher here, so you guys can finish up Friday with some good profit for tomorrow. As always, before we jump in though to each chart, I'm going to cover all the trades in each of these charts here tonight. Before we jump in though, make sure you're aware of tomorrow's trading session. Tomorrow's a Friday. Now Fridays are usually a little bit smaller window of opportunity, so be aware of that. Remember the old saying, trading is like riding a bicycle. It's easier when it's moving. So, there's no real hard and fast rule for trading a Friday. I tend to think it's best to be early in and early out on a Friday morning. But if the market's moving, trade it. If it's not moving though, again, think about that bicycle metaphor. You'll get a lot more consistency out of your setups, a lot more profitable trades when you're getting good personality. So don't force anything that might be slowing down tomorrow as we finish up what has been a pretty volatile, a pretty wild week. Now you'll notice we have really one big thing. I mean, we do have industrial production tomorrow, but the one kind of big question mark on our radar tomorrow is how will the markets react at the beginning of the morning tomorrow? We've got Jerome Powell. This is not a testimony. It's not an announcement of any sort that we saw on Wednesday, but it is going to be a keynote speech. And I would imagine with the drama that came behind that 75 basis point rate hike on Wednesday afternoon, I would imagine a lot of traders are going to be tuning in to see if he will continue that very aggressive, what they call hawkish commentary, that higher rate commentary that he made on Wednesday afternoon. I would expect the markets to be paying attention to that tomorrow, which means by the time we get into the U.S. Open, 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, I would imagine that's where some of the best trades are setting up. In my trade room, we usually see the best setups around 9:45, 10:15 to 10:30 in the trade room in the morning. So be careful tomorrow morning. Again, if it's slow around Jerome Powell speaking, you know what people are waiting for. Don't force the trades. Wait for that, right? Wait for things to pick up into the U.S. Open if it's slow while he's speaking, and keep your eyes open for some good setups, and we'll cover the best setups we're looking for here tomorrow. Again, tomorrow is quadruple witching. All four asset classes expire tomorrow. It really won't affect much of our trading in the futures markets, other than the fact that sometimes it does have a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy to it where things may be a bit slower on a Friday. But back to our charts, we know what to keep an eye on for tomorrow. Remember, don't force those slow price action trades. Nasdaq's ready, S&P's ready, crude oil's ready. Glad to see you already right along with us here tonight. Now, guys, I'm going to go over all my favorite trades on each one of these charts here tonight. Whether you trade one of them or you trade all of them, you're going to learn something throughout this entire video here tonight. I like to keep things moving throughout the lesson here this evening. I'll put together different trade ideas, different advanced setups, and I do try to include the best stuff towards the end of these videos, so I'll give you a reason to stick around all the way to the end, all right? So don't go Xing me off here after your favorite market. Stick around all the way in here. All right, let's jump into the NASDAQ first. We'll go NASDAQ, S&P, and then, of course, over to the crude oil futures. What's going on right now on the NASDAQ? Well, three big components here right now on the NQ, most important keys to success for tomorrow. One is that big move we saw today. Obviously, bears have control of this momentum right now. Why is a big move an important factor? Because anytime we see a really big move in one session, we have to think there's going to be a little bit of hesitancy to sell low, right? Well, I don't want to sell too low down here. And so anytime we see a big move, in this case, a big move down, we have to think that traders are going to come out tomorrow and say, you know what, this might be a little bit too low to keep selling down here, but if I could get a deeper pullback, now that's something I can get excited about. So a big move in one day usually means a deep pullback is coming the following day, just to give, in this case, the sellers a reason to get back into this market. Make sense? Big move is a big clue for tomorrow. Second big clue here is that pop and grind channel. We talk a lot about these on these videos, right? That pop and grind down. You can draw that trend line off that low, up off that high, right? Remember these? These are one of my favorite types of channels, and that's basically what we have right now. We had that big spook from the Swiss National Bank overnight. It basically collapses and starts to grind down, going lower. I'm simply drawing a trend line off that low, bringing it right up around that high, and I really like those shorts off the top of that channel, along with, keep this in mind, the base of that channel. These are the two hot spots for that pop and grind channel, the top of the channel and then where that kind of channel begins after that big spike down. Keep those two spots on your radar. And then one of the most important clues that we have going into tomorrow, which will help us kind of refine our entry tactics, is the range rotation off of the low. We have a trading range here. Market moves into the range. Ranges are magnets. They love to rotate. We run underneath that range. You can see the sellers trying to hold that breakout pullback. They're right now failing, and we're anticipating now that rotation going higher. Now, this is important because that rotation going higher, not only does it give us some levels of resistance up overhead that we can sell, but it's also very important that you understand there's a lot of momentum that builds as the market rotates. So think about now, when you put all of these clues together, the big move down says don't be surprised if we see a deep pullback so sellers can get short at a higher price. And of course, at the same time, that rotation off the low has a tendency to almost like slingshot, as we say in our trade room, right? It has a tendency to kind of slingshot as it goes higher, as sellers take profit. And that oftentimes can produce a pretty deep pullback. So now that we kind of know what's going on in the chart, how do we trade this stuff? How do we sell it? How do we buy it? Where do you think is the best short trades here as we go higher right now? Well, as we go higher, this trend line really becomes a big variable. And so as we go higher here, I'd love to be a seller off of these highs, but we've got a lot of momentum coming up. And so with that momentum now, I have to anticipate that buyers are going to be starting to come in and they'll start to try to hold these pullbacks. And if they do, what I'll do is I'll look for that two-try failure setup that we talk so much about on this video. Let those buyers try once, let those buyers try twice. Now, here's where the trend line comes into play. That trend line is a big spook because now I can't just simply sell into stop losses like I normally will, right? Normally in these situations, I'll wait for the price to get up into overhead resistance. I'll let those buyers come in and try a couple times, 1 and 2, and I'll think, okay, where are their stops, right? Where are their stops? And I'll use their stop losses to basically fuel this move back down to retest the low, right? Literally selling into stops of those buyers who are trying to buy that first pullback. That is how I'll usually do it in our trade room. The problem though is that trend line creates a little bit of a problem here, right? Is right in our way. In that situation, what you want to think about as we pop higher here is going to be 1, 2, and try to get that trap entry. That trap entry is your best friend selling just above that prior high, because that's going to give us that ability now to get in at a higher price, so we're no longer having to worry about selling into that trend line. Now be aware of this, right? Be aware of this problem, because if we do end up, let's say for example, pulling back a bit deeper, right? Now we have the 1, we have the 2, right? That becomes an issue. So watch that trend line, and if we do have an issue with it, what you can do is use that trend line as a level of resistance on the opposite side, right? Makes sense? So this is going to be one thing I can't really do for us here tonight. We're going to have to wait for this price to pop up, let those buyers try a couple times, right? Let them try once, let them try twice. And then depending on how much space we have on, between that trend line and that failure, we may be able to go with that trap high, or we may have to go underneath it here and use that trend line, and possibly, honestly, if we get lucky, we can get both of them, right? The trap high off the high, and then grab that little pullback off that trend line. Where do the bears want to go? The bears want to get back down to retest that major low, so leave that runner to really capitalize on that move back down here. One really, really good way to do it. I would also think too that, again, if this market was to really pop up like this, keep your eyes on that 1, 2, right, and that failure back down again. Let's talk about now, how do I buy it? How do I buy it as it's going higher? I think we'll talk more about the reversals on the next chart. All right, let's keep going with the short side here in the Nasdaq. I'll talk more about reversals and the buy side here on the S&P as we go up deeper into this video. What if we start to roll over though? Right? What's the game plan if the market, for example, you can see this channel right here, right? What if we open up here and continue to roll down? If we continue here to roll lower here, what you want to do is keep looking for that nice deep pullback, right? Obviously at that point, this trend line won't be an issue, but if we start to roll over and start to really tumble going lower here, that's going to be our heads up now to redraw this channel. So if we do take out that low and we continue to roll down, right, like we did earlier today, we're going to keep taking out that channel, right, find that low. What I'll do in this situation is go find some new channels off that high. And again, I'll look for that nice deep pullback, get those buyers to rope in with that 1, 2, and then remember on these, as long as we don't have that trend line in the way, if we do end up rolling lower here and kind of grinding down on this, find that new channel off that low, mark off those prior swings, get up above those prior swings. That'll get you above the moving average, and that'll allow you now for a trap setup above that high, get those buyers trapped in with a failure, hit those stops with your short, and then grab that pullback as we go, right? So if the market rolls over and we keep on partying to the downside here for tomorrow, don't chase it. And we still haven't got that deep pullback. So draw that new channel nice and tight off those lows, bring it up around some of these bigger highs up here, wait for that deep pullback, get that trap, grab that failure, grab that pullback combination, right? Just as we talk about in our free video classes on our website. Which reminds me, I know a lot of you guys have already taken our free trading course. You've learned all the setups, like the traps and the failures and the pullbacks. I got a ton of emails this morning. When I get to my desk this morning, talk about folks using those setups on their own account right now. So great to hear everybody making money with those setups here on your own. But listen, if you're here for the first time right now, if you haven't taken that free class yet, if you haven't learned all the trade setups, what I'll do is I'll put a little link up here for you in the upper right hand corner. Grab that link and get registered for our free trading course. Learn the whole roadmap I'm talking about here on this video. If you hate missing the best trades each day, or you're taking too many losses, making too many mental mistakes, I'll tell you that roadmap that I teach in that free video class, it'll get you right on the right track and help you start getting some good results on your trading on your own account. And then that way you'll be ready for the trade room, and you'll know exactly to trade these two-try failures and these traps I'm talking about in this video right now. So now we know what to do if the market rolls over and keeps going lower. We also know what to do here as the market, or if the market here continues to slingshot going higher here. How do we buy this market right now? What would a reversal look like? How do I buy it? Let's keep going. Let's talk about the S&P here next. The S&P and the Nasdaq are very, very similar in the sense that there's a lot of the same kind of key components here as we go. How do we buy this market right now? Now, remember, S&P, Nasdaq, pretty similar. You'll see that there are some differences here on these charts here tonight. First of all, that big move down, right? That big move today. Anytime we see a big move in one day, we know a deep pullback to attract more buyers, or in this case, more sellers into the market is very likely. We also know we have a pop and grind. That pop down, that grind down, we're drawing our channels. And so we know where we have those shorts or the resistance area up overhead. On top of that, we also have that range rotation off the low. It's a bear market into a trading range. We go below the range, and now we're trying to kind of slingshot or rotate that pendulum. The amount we go below is the amount we go above, and we're now looking for that short back down. We go from here. Lots, just the NASDAQ, lots of resistance levels up overhead here to really sink our teeth into. The challenge again is that trend line. That trend line is really the big variable as we pull back here for tomorrow. So as we pull back, same basic idea, right? If I can get that 1, 2 with that trap, I can gladly take that trap as long as I have enough space here right between that entry and that trend line. We may have to go underneath that trend line and use it as a level of resistance. So again, that's the one part of this that you won't exactly be able to know tonight, is kind of how far that pullback goes, and then really most importantly, what that 2 try. And again, the reason why we want 2 tries on this is because of that potential for a really deep pullback and that kind of slingshot up off of that low. As we rotate higher, let those buyers dig their own grave, use their stop losses as fuel, grab that trap, grab that breakout pullback, and for that move back down to those lows here. Now, as we go higher, right? As we go higher, what would a breakout look like? What would a reversal look like? Well, let's imagine now we get that full pendulum swing running, and now we pull back to the moving average. And instead of simply 1, 2 and failing back down again, now the buyers pull back and they hold and they jump off that moving average. Remember, there's a big range up there from yesterday, right? We talked about that range in last night's video. So we know there's a lot of magnets waiting up overhead. At this point, doesn't seem likely that will happen for tomorrow, but as we saw comparing last night's video to what happened today, anything can happen in these markets, right? Especially with this 24-hour news cycle we live in now. So this could easily change. The problem though is we have to wait for these buyers to hold that pullback. Once they hold that pullback and jump off of that moving average, once they hold and jump off the moving average, then we know the buyers now have control of this market. What I'll do is I'll mark off a trend line off that high. I'll mark a trend line off that low and repeat after me. First test is the best test. I want that first test off the low of that channel. We call these 1, 2, 3 breakouts, 1, 2, 3 reversals. These in normal conditions are pretty possible when we have a pendulum swing off of that low, because again, you've got that potential for that slingshot going higher. But make no mistake, the initial move higher is not the issue here. The issue is, can they hold that pullback and jump off that moving average? If they do, I can now drill down, get my traps, my failures, my pullback combinations off of those lows. And again, you'll learn more about those entry setups in that free class that I mentioned before. So definitely look for that 1, 2, 3 reversal. Another reversal pattern, and again, remember, all of these can be applied to the NASDAQ as well. Another reversal pattern, though, is a pop and grind. A pop and grind would make perfect sense in a market that made a huge move down on really some very unexpected headlines overnight. Let's say now we pop up. But now, instead of pulling back to the moving average and jumping and running, now what happens is we see something like we saw today, right? Where it pops up and it begins to grind and grind and grind. That grinding motion, right? That kind of grinding personality of the market is basically the other side of the market ultimately getting out of their positions. Now, keep in mind on this, a pop and grind here is not going to be enough. We're going to have to get this thing to really pop up, take out some of these highs here, and then literally start to grind as if a string is holding on to that dragging that market higher. Once we start seeing that pop and grind, that'll be your cue. This market now has reverse momentum. I'm going to draw a trend line right off that high. I'm going to anchor it off of one of these lows, right? We'll know more about this, obviously, once we get more information. Once we see that new trend line, find that new channel, then we look left, we find some prior swings. We try to get underneath those prior swings because that's usually where the best entries are going to be. I get under the moving average for a trap, a failure, a pullback combo, right, and a leg continuing going higher. Where would that target be? Where would the target be on a reversal like this? The target would be the size of the first leg, right? That pop leg. That pop leg will oftentimes be equal to that final follow-through leg. Okay, trending markets love to move in threes. They move one leg, two leg, three legs. Most of the time, that first leg and that third leg are symmetrical. So first leg and third leg on this example. Now, that's quite a bit of space overhead if these buyers can reverse, right? Quite a bit of space back in that 38.30 area there overhead. I would be pretty surprised to see this completely take back the entire move for tomorrow. Is it possible? Absolutely. Anything is possible in these markets right now with all the news headlines we're seeing across the globe. So be aware of that pop-up. Again, be very careful trying to buy that first pullback, let those buyers try a couple times and sell it back down. Now, as we go lower here, if we go lower here tomorrow, right? If we make that move lower, we talked about that grinding down, right? And finding that new channel, marking off that new channel, and then thinking about where those entries are off the top of that channel, right? So keep that in mind. Same thing we talked about there on the NASDAQ earlier. And again, this could be a trap, a failure, a pullback combo, any of the entry patterns you guys learn inside that free trading course. Another thing I would think about here too is if the market now was to go up and then come back down and retest that low. Right? Let's say, for example, now we go up, the buyers come in, 1 and 2, they get that short, back down, and we retest the low. Now at this point, how do I sell it as it goes lower? How do I buy it for a reversal back up into that trading range? Let's talk about those scenarios here coming up next. First of all, if we go up and all the way down, you got to be looking for that pop and grind as it kind of bleeds lower from that. That's a really easy one because, again, you'll have all of that momentum coming off of that high. The profit target on that is always back to those lows. But if it starts to grind down like we saw today after that big drop down, the game plan is very, very similar. You can simply draw that trend line off those lows. What I usually do is on these is as it goes higher here, and starts to kind of grind down like that, right? I'll go out, mark off that low. I'll start looking at these bigger highs, right? Some of these prior swings up here. Obviously, I can't anticipate all this for tomorrow, but think about where those bigger highs are up there, and then that's going to be another example of a way you can use that same kind of pop and grind breakdown as we go lower. Remember, we're looking for this. We're looking for that short after we retest those lows and then push right on through those lows here for tomorrow. It'd be a great pullback as we go there, and then of course we can use that, right? That double bottom reversal for the reversal. Now let's say we go up, we come back down, we take out that low, right? Mission accomplished. The bears now got their short off of that high. we now go back, and now instead of continuing through that low, now what happens now is now the bears come in and they begin to struggle. They try once, they try twice. At this point now, the smart money traders have already sold off that high and they're taking their money down at that low. We have a range in the middle. We haven't seen this thing continue through. We haven't seen that breakout yet. So at this point now, we can definitely start looking for signs of exhaustion at these lows. Let them try once. Let them try twice. Let those sellers try twice down here, because remember, at this point, you don't have momentum on your side. We're at a support level. We have a range magnet above us, but we need to make sure we get some sort of catalyst for this move going higher, and that catalyst will come in the form of running stops. Think about where those stops are going to be. Let them try twice because it is so bearish, and then we can look for that long going right up into those stops, going back up into that trading range. Okay, what you got to be, the one thing you got to be careful with on this is if this market goes up and really starts to accelerate as it goes lower, right? If this thing really pounds into that low, remember the odds are pretty good they're going to keep that process going, right? But if we can get up, get some failures, right, and then end up back around that low, right, nothing too crazy, then at that point now I can start thinking about those bears once, bears twice, use those stop loss as fuel, and get that reversal going off of that low. Right? Lots of different ways in which we can take that trade. I like to look for traps off that low, trend lines to use as support. Lots of variations of that. You'll learn more about that stuff in that free video class. You'll see a lot of examples of that, of those two try failures going back up into that trading range. All right, I think we've covered most of the scenarios here now on the E-mini and the S&P. We know as the market goes higher how to sell it. We know what to be aware of with that trend line coming in underneath. We know how to buy it if it disconnects and reverses. We also know how to sell it as it's coming down here, right, for that move going lower, that breakdown as we go, or that retest of that low with that failure back up again. All right, I feel pretty good about that game plan for tomorrow. What do you think? Got any questions? Anything you disagree with on me? Let me know in the comments section. I'd love to know what you guys think about the analysis tonight, or anything I can do to make your trading better tomorrow. So definitely drop me a comment in the comment section. Last but not least here, over on the crude oil, what's going on right now on crude oil? Well, we did contract rollover on oil. Oil, of course, did give you some contract rollover. We mentioned this last night on the video. We're now on the 0822 contract. Remember, oil is, well, the energy markets, oil, natural gas, right, other energy futures, they all roll over every 1 month, right? So unlike the E-minis, the stock indexes that roll over every 3 months, oil, which is a little bit of one of the challenges with oil. I would say one of the downsides of oil is that every month around the 18th of the month, I know we did roll over early this month, probably because the 18th is on a weekend. But the bottom line is we did do contract rollover, right? We're now through that now. So now we're on to the 822 contract here for tomorrow. Next up here, strong pop higher. You'll notice right now we have a very bull move here right now. It's a very bullish market as far as short-term momentum goes. Anytime we see a real strong move in one direction, we know the odds are pretty good. They're going to try to retest that high. And if I was a buyer, I would probably draw a channel off that high, off of that low. I can easily see these prior swings right here. So I would anticipate the buyers would love to buy somewhere right there and retest that high. At the same time, will they fail off that high and give us a beautiful reversal back down again? If I have my way tomorrow, that's exactly what will happen. Or will the buyers push through these highs? Get a range above us, right? Big old range above us there. Maybe get a breakout, right? And that breakout may easily take us back to last week's close. Maybe all the way up to that 120 big round number. Remember, oil loves to make $5 moves right now. 115 we're at right now. 120 is not too far of a break higher for us to consider. At the same time, though, I want to make sure you see, though, where we are in the big picture. The second big clue here, I guess the third clue on the list here, second real trading clue here, is the major bear channel. Now, I'm not a huge believer in using long-term analysis for short-term trading. I'm just not. You guys probably have noticed. I don't use many daily charts or weekly charts. I'm a short-term trader. So for me, the short-term momentum what I saw today usually will tell me to trade tomorrow. But every once in a while, we see some pretty big clues like this bigger bear channel. We've talked a lot about these pop and grind channels lately, right? We've talked a lot about these pop and grind channels, haven't we? And you can see a great example of a great place to find a perfect pullback by using these pop and grind channels. So again, I'm just simply drawing my trend line down off these lows. Maybe you're wondering right now, why didn't I draw it like that? It's because of the way these fit. Right? These just fit too perfectly at that low. When you line them up like that, it's almost like those lows were made to put this channel high way up at that recent high from earlier on in the week, right? That 121, 50 high up there. I really like the look of this channel here. It's very, very good looking channel. And you can see where we are. We're right around the high of that channel. Now, again, I'm going to caution you on this because it is a larger channel. And larger channels, if we were swing traders, would be a viable, a viable tool. For day traders, though, for somebody who's trying to use, short-term momentum like we are with our traps and our failure setups in our trade room, we got to be careful putting too much emphasis on long-term stuff. So take this for what it is. It's a very bull market right now that we do anticipate buyers are going to try to push it higher here. But at the same time, though, if they struggle, if they fail, I definitely think there's a very good, well, first of all, just an incredible risk reward on this going back to that low. And, I should mention too, one thing about risk reward, I learned a long time ago that the better your risk reward ratio is, usually the more you have to pay attention to momentum. Ever noticed that in your own trading? The bigger the risk reward, the better the risk reward is for us, right? Risking small to earn large. Usually the more momentum becomes a problem. And this is exactly the same thing right now. So we have to be careful with that. So how do we make money on this, right? How do we trade this thing? How do we sell it? What do you think? What's the best way to sell a market like this? And we'll talk about both sides, of course, here tonight before we finish up. So to sell it right now, it's very similar to what we talked about on the S&P and the Nasdaq, where on the S&P and the Nasdaq, we had this move coming off of the low of that range. What do we say? Let them try once, twice, absolutely. So what you want to do in this case, we don't have any trend lines to worry about this time, right? Thank goodness. There's no trend lines to have an issue on this one. All we have to worry about right now is think like a buyer. Think like a buyer. That's why I put this channel on here. Think like a buyer. So at this point now, the buyers want to come in and they're going to start to buy those dips, right? Let them try once, let them try twice. Now, there are a lot of different ways that we can take these short trades. One, which I mentioned before, is that trap. Right? The trap is always something we love. The trap is a great setup off that high. Another one, though, is a little advanced tactic will be a hidden channel. Draw a trend line off that low, bring that trend line up around that high, trap or not. Sometimes you're going to trap there, but the most important thing is let those buyers try twice. Remember, you want lower lows in price because, as I always teach my students, buyers want to buy low. Buyers want to buy low. Right? So make sure they're lower lows in price. If we get a trap, great. Little channel coming in, that's where the signal is. Right? Now, as this market begins to pull back and go lower now, okay? Now remember, your job is not over yet. At this point now, what we'll do is find another channel. Draw right off those new lows, bring it right up around that high, and then look left. And think about, where can I get some traps? Where can I get just above a prior swing and hit the high of that new channel? Make sense? Again, this could be a trap setup. It could be a failure setup. It could be a pullback setup. Any of those price action trades we talk about in the free video class on the website. And again, if I haven't convinced you yet, here's the link up top there. Grab that link in the upper right-hand corner. Learn this setup right here. This is a very, very common two-try failure into first channel test. We look for these pretty much nonstop in our trade room. We know the market wants to go back down to retest the low. So I really like that short off the high. One more thing you want to keep in mind too is, let's say, for example, it just simply pops and grinds down, right? That's even easier. Now we just draw that trend line down, mark off that high, and just, dare I say, pay me, right? This one's pretty easy, right? This is a pretty easy short at this point because now momentum has turned. right? Now we're not worried about the buyers putting up, pitching a fit up there and making our job more difficult. And now at this point, with that big move down, everybody knows where we're going now. At that point, now we can get a lot more aggressive on the short off that high. All right, guys, so watch those as we make that move, or if we make that move back off of that high here, right? Makes sense? Okay, that's a pretty easy one. Now, what if we go higher? How do we buy it as we go higher here, right? Oh, how do we sell it as we go higher? Let's say, for example, let's say we do pull back and the buyers take it higher. At that point now, what do we say? We say mission accomplished. Right? We know the buyers want that retest already. So once they get that retest, now it's that same thing. Now it's 1, now it's 2. In fact, you can be a lot more aggressive after that retest of that high, because at this point now the buyers have got what they wanted, right? Now the buyers have to prove to us they can push to that high. So give them 2 tries. Let those stops be your fuel. Grab that stop run for that short, and then grab that new channel off that low, off that high. Same basic idea, right? Same basic idea. So if we do go higher here, be aware of that same pattern setup, that 2-try failure into that first channel test off that low, and then back down to retest the low. How do we break out here? What are some breakouts? Well, first of all, we have a pretty good idea of where the market wants to go if it breaks out. Right, if it breaks out higher, that last week's close 118.24. Remember, this is the 822 contract now, so it won't be the same price as the 722. But that's a pretty easy objective there for us. And I would imagine if these buyers get a good bid tomorrow, that 120 could definitely be on their radar tomorrow, especially if we saw any new fresh headlines out of Ukraine or out of the situation between U.S. President Biden and the oil companies, as he tries to explain to them how to get these prices back down again, which I think we're all having a very good laugh about right now. Anyways, how to try to break out here? An easy one would be, let's say they hold this pullback and they blast. Right? If they hold this pullback and blast going higher right now, I can easily mark up that high. I can easily mark up that low, right? I can drill down, find those traps, get underneath those prior swings. Now, I always talk about traps because those are the best ones. The key is draw that channel off those highs, bring it down off those lows, get underneath the moving average, because then you can trap in those bears and use their stops as fuel. Remember that prior week close, be an easy magnet as we go. So look for traps, failures, pullbacks off the moving average, easy stuff. You'll learn more about that stuff in that free video course. Also, too, a pop and grind. A pop and grind will work, right? We pop up, we grind, going higher, find that new trend line, find that channel. You got it, right? This is all pretty stuff, pretty easy stuff. We've talked about this stuff already a couple times already. I would also, too, keep your eyes open for a 2-try trap. We see a good example right here. I'm not a big fan of a 2-try trap on the S&P or the Nasdaq right now because of the overall situation, but in this particular setup right now, a 2-try trap will definitely work. Strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high in price, and that trap is where the money is. Right? We call these 2-try traps because the bears are trying once, the bears are trying twice, and we're literally buying that trap low. Good example right here. Right, very good example. Strong run up, shallow pullback, higher high in price. It makes perfect sense that buyers would be all over that, right, in an overall bull market, right? So that's a good example of that setup. Looking for it up here. Again, I'm not too keen on that one on the S&P and the Nasdaq. Be aware of that because of such a big bear trend down and the potential for a really deep pullback tomorrow before bears come back in on the E-minis. So keep that on your radar for the oil going higher here. And again, looking forward to hopefully getting some buyers trapped in and a move back down again. One thing we learned from last night, right? One thing we learned overnight last night is anything is possible right now. So we got our game plan all put together here. We are ready for Friday's trading session. And speaking of Friday, come out and join me in the trade room. If you're looking for a great place to learn and trade along, if you're sick and tired of missing the big moves every day, or you're taking too many losses, or you're making too many mental mistakes, I'll tell you, I use a very simple 3-step strategy to make sure we know where the best setups are, and I'll be there right there with you to make sure you're doing it the right way every day to be successful. What I'll do is I'll put all the membership links, all the free course links, I'll put all all that stuff below this video tonight on the website or in the description of the YouTube video. So grab those links, get registered for the free course, get started there, learn the basic strategy, and then I'll see you soon in the trade room every morning at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Don't be afraid to drop a question in the comment section. I'm always here to help too as well. Call the office if you have any questions along the way. And we also, of course, have live chat on the lower right-hand corner of the website as well. All right, guys. Boy, great week so far. We got one more day left coming tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll see you there tomorrow morning at the opening bell. If not, we'll come back next week for not the last week of the month, but the fourth week of the month, which I know will be another great week with us here on this video newsletter. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in here tonight. Be well out there. Enjoy your evening. And boy, oh boy, get a big game coming tonight, right? Get a big game coming tonight. Celtics on the verge of elimination. Will the Warriors become a dynasty tonight? I'm talking about NBA basketball here in the U.S., the finals. Boy, game 6 tonight here. Can't wait for it. So rest up, get some rest tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. If not, we'll see you guys back here next week. Who you got in the game tonight, though? I'm a Celtics guy myself. I'm rooting for the underdog right now. What do you got, though? Let me know in the comment section. I would love to know. Anyways, I'm out of here. Be well. Be nice to each other. And you better be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.